Well, that story is presumably going to be on the front page of a lot of the papers tomorrow, and certainly some of the first ones that have come in. It is The Independent is the first one that dropped into our inbox tonight, and it is calling it the smoking gun. It's quite a dramatic front page there, and it shows that letter with the pieces that are redacted. Hidden for 4 years, letter from former reporter exposes extent of illegal activity and cover-up at News International. Is this a smoking gun, do you think, Samira?
I think so. I mean, I think the first thing that's really important for viewers is they may think, oh, God, I'm sick and tired of this story. But what's significant is this is a letter in which you've got a convicted criminal saying you all knew about it. And he's naming people at the newspaper and saying that senior executives, the head of the legal money that's been spent and the strength of the denials that have been made, that this letter was clearly written and was there to be read at some stage. I know, of course, that over the course of the day, the MPs committee was debating about releasing it because it is hugely significant. I mean, this is a piece of legal evidence. And the key thing, I think, for me, is that if Andy Coulson knew, and this letter says he clearly did, it was widely known, David Cameron's decision to take him on after, I mean, it just leaves him a terrible
it doesn't actually name Andy Coulson, does it? It says the editor.
But it says he was the editor, or it says the editor. Well, who else can it be? It wasn't Rebecca Brooks, it was Andy Coulson. And for me, well, I mean, it's amazing.
The head lawyer, as knowing about all this, being fully aware that he was still giving guidance to the newspaper after the criminal investigation was underway. This man wrote the textbook called Law in the Media that all my fellow journalism students were told to study. It was the textbook on how to do law.
I never read it myself, but I'll take your word for it.
That's the name. I mean, when I first heard that name in the context of this story, everyone who studied journalism at City University went, that's the man who wrote the book. So, as I say, I know that for all viewers, they may not feel this is that important to them, but the implications for a major corporation being accused of lying and covering up with this evidence. And I think there's a lesson here as well for anyone who works in a company, media or otherwise, that if there's wrongdoing going on, you write it down, you've got evidence that you told management about what was going on. And Crone now, implicated in the latest release, are going to definitely be called to testify again on September the 6th. These are people who might have legal proceedings launched against them, judging by the contents of the latest letter. So, it's generating more potential legal activity.
Do you think that this is showing signs of a split within the coalition, the political reaction to the rioting?
Definitely. I know because I've been contacted by some Lib Dem peers on Twitter who've been saying they've been unhappy, particularly since the announcement of planned evictions for people who were just charged with, not even necessarily convicted of rioting. I mean, there are so many issues around sort of, human rights, concerns about this idea of intervening in Facebook and social media to try and block them. And, it seems to me those are kind of classic Lib Dem issues. And there's a definite attempt to set themselves apart. Simon Hughes wrote very strongly about, the need not to go down this very hard-line policy. Interesting to see what they actually do in the end. I mean, that's the key. They are in coalition, and if Cameron is committed to pushing through some of these. There was a lot of concern in tackling terrorism that people who had been posting dodgy stuff on the internet, jihadist stuff, were being prosecuted for alleged, thought crime. Although in those cases, I know at least one conviction of the so-called lyrical terrorist. She had been in touch with someone who was arrested with materials he was bringing back from Pakistan, and she worked at Heathrow Airport. Now she was given, I think, a suspended sentence of 2.5 years. And again, you look at the comparison. That was a strong terrorist concern. Here, this is something that didn't happen. There was no violence. I was talking to Diane Abbott this morning, who was saying that after the Brixton riots, and many people were killed, we forget that in the Brixton riots, there was no attempt to throw out due legal process. Magistrates' courts were not throwing down maximum sentences and were not automatically passing up to Crown Court. This is happening without a legal process, and there's a denial that it's political pressure, and yet it's hard to believe it's not.
The newspaper front pages as they come in with the journalist and broadcaster Samira Ahmed and the director of Colourful Radio, Henry Bonsu. We're going to start this half with the Daily Express, which has led on Diana once or twice before. It's reading with Diana's secret engagement. It has an interview with a witness who says that they saw the princess and Dodi buy a diamond ring.
But waited till now to tell the Daily Express. We were talking earlier about how we worry that perhaps you know, readers are sick and tired of Hatgate. And then you think, who goes into a newsagent and sees that headline and thinks, I must buy the Daily Express today because I did not know this. Front page of the print edition, looking at it on the website earlier, what's going on in Europe with the meeting between Sarkozy and Merkel is bigger. I mean, the German economy is slowing down, and I think, you know, what's been going on in the Eurozone has been pushed so much to the side by rioting and other domestic stories. But there's real concern over the implications of this. Who's going to bail out the Eurozone? And they're talking about, oh, we need to have a much more tightly united, you know, economic policy. I mean, these are all the kind of things that are going to terrify.